Welcome to the Wake and Sober podcast, a podcast about life and recovery through Jesus Christ.
Yes.
You gotta throw that Jesus up in there.
I love it. I love it.
Sounds like you're talking for the first time ever.
I love it.
And I love every bit of it.
You know, so this is take two for those who don't know. It was
got to
take
know
two. But I like take two better from you because the first time he went really slow. Mm-hmm. But when he threw that Jesus Christ in there, it's like, you forget all about the rest of it. The second time, man.
Well, I
great
wrote
intro.
When I wrote it down, I didn't write Jesus Christ in there.
Oh, a little
I just
ad-lib.
really never say Christ. I always say his full name.
You give him his whole name, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Hey.
Off the cuff ad lib. I love it. You're a natural.
No, he's all right. But hey, shout out Tactile Turn. Thanks for sponsoring us. And that, you see there, we got some bronze pencil and a bronze pen. And that, once again, Tactile Turn, we appreciate everything you do.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We are on all podcast platforms. If you see us on social media, give us a share, give us a like, leave us a comment. Let us know what's going on with you. Let us know what you would like us to talk about.
Yeah.
You got any questions? You got any things, any topics that you want us to answer? We are more than willing. You can find us or email us at info@awakensober.org.
That is info at awakensober.org.
There's that voice for radio.
Yeah, I can go deeper if you'd like.
Or you try to get a shout out to Big Perm up here real quick. Big Perm not in today.
Car ran real good. Shout out to Big Perm. No, we miss you. We love you, brother.
We do miss you. We do miss you.
Can't wait to have him back. But in place of Big Perm, we got
Big Brent.
Big Brent. What's up, dog?
Yeah, I'm a little bit different than Big Perm, but yeah.
A little less furry.
Yeah.
A little bit more hair.
I can't grow a beard.
You have more hair on your head, less facial hair.
Yeah, I can't grow a beard to save my life.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, totally know that
Did
feeling.
both of you guys not?
Not at all. Not at all. This is what you get. This is like 8 weeks of growth, too.
Could you always grow a beard?
No. It wasn't until, I don't know, whenever I grew this one, I was tired of shaving, and all of a sudden it started coming in nicely, and I said, well, I'm just going to keep it. Then it started hiding all the chins, and then I just really kept it.
Yeah, you ain't see this CR intro, man, where he had this, the chin strap going on.
The only thing I had was a goatee back then.
I've seen that before. They showed a video at.
I just showed it at the bridge.
But it was thin. It was all thin, like,
I didn't even know it was him. My mom had to tell me that it was you. I had no idea who it was.
Of course it was thin, man. I worked at Citibank back then. We kept it nice and tight. Mm-hmm. It looked good, And then all of a sudden it turned all gray. And then there was no reason to just have a goatee that you couldn't really see anymore. It was just all gray. So, how you doing, Brent?
I'm doing well. Can't complain at all, really. Just life is going really well right now, and things are just coming together nicely. Not how I was going to say coming together how I want it, but coming together how they're supposed to come together. And that just happens to be something that I'm enjoying and wanting. Not forcing it.
like his will be done.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
Like his will be done.
his will be done.
And I could tell you for the listeners, if you want to know how to stay sober, follow what Brent does.
Right.
This guy, you could ask him to pretty much do anything, and he does it. And that's, and not in a codependent kind of way, right? I'm talking about he serves.
Healthy services,
Yes.
right?
He's serving from the heart, right motive, right heart. If you ask him to come over and do a podcast last minute, he's like, yeah, I'll come over and I'll help. Mm-hmm. You ask him to go up and read the steps or do anything that you don't even know how to do, you haven't done yet, you say yes and you go and do it because it's service work.
Service work, and I mean, it's not that it's a wrong motive, but I know that it will help me grow as a person, as an individual. That's the reward for doing something like that. Not a, hey, I did this type of feeling, more of.
If it was a, hey, look at me, or I did this, you wouldn't be asked.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the whole thing. That's why it comes from a humble heart. Has your parents said anything about you being up there on stage?
No.
No?
Nah.
I figured they might say something to you by now.
I don't want you getting a big head.
Nah,
A little late.
Now, you want to talk a big head.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything.
Because, I mean, there's a different sound to Derek today, wouldn't you say?
yeah, a little
There
bit.
is.
I mean, he sounds better than he looks.
I was gonna say he sounds better and looks better, but
My thank you there, sir. See,
One thing at a time.
appreciation, right? See, ladies and gentlemen, a gentleman got me this gift of a brand new microphone, so I sound so much better. Almost matched the way I look. Now the decision. So the question out there is, do I sound better than I look with this new microphone?
Of
Or
course.
do I just sound better than match my looks with this microphone? So,
A.
info at awakensober.org. Let us know what you think.
You got A or B as a choice, and it's A.
Hey,
You sound better than you look. Dude, it's a great mic.
it is a great mic, but I
So
still look
congrats. How are you doing, D?
I am doing well, man. I can't complain, brother. Like I said, I don't know what God's doing, but like I don't get upset anymore. And I think it's a lot of it, it's going to go with a lot what we're going to be talking about today. Again, the past things that we had to deal with and stuff. And that I don't get angry like I used to. I used to get angry, like easily angry, and want to start just complaining for no reason. But now it's just like I don't do it anymore. I don't have the urge to want to do it. If something stupid happens,
You chalk it up to something stupid?
something stupid happens. Yeah, pretty much, man. And I deal with it. What I had to do. I deal with my part in it right then and there. Like step 10 talks about, promptly admitted it, and then I move on. And I'm not going to let these things. And we'll talk more about that when we get into the podcast today about the old forgiveness and things like that. So, but yeah, because of doing that and teaching that, it actually works. I don't care who you are, it works.
Practicing what you teach?
I do.
Practicing what you preach?
I do. And it works. And I think that's what makes it so good when I tell other people about it, because it has worked.
Yeah, they can't argue that fact.
No. I mean, some people, some of you guys out there listening knew me back when I was a jerk. Now I'm a jerk
Yesterday.
for a good thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't agree with was.
You guys
You're
are
just a different kind of jerk.
Yeah,
I am, but I'm a jerk for the good things, though. I stand firm in what I believe. I stand firm in what I teach, because I've seen it work. It's worked for me. It's worked for the people who taught me it. So I stand firm on it. And when you try to question me about it, yeah, I'm a bit of a jerk about it. I'm not gonna lie, but that's only because I stand in what I believe.
Stand tall, stand proud.
That's it.
Mikey,
Hi,
how you doing?
I'm doing okay.
I am doing.
How you doing?
I'm doing better today than I was yesterday. Haven't been sleeping well. Been sleeping well. Haven't been able to get up. That's been my biggest downfall. Been struggling with it. Changing some medications and stuff like that. Via my my psychiatrist. So I'm doing it the right way. Yesterday, and I shared it. I said, "Halt! Hungry, angry, lonely, tired," and I am all of those right now. And then that was the end of my share. I didn't say anything else after that. One, because Aaron cut me off, like, "Thanks, Mike," and then, but two
You
was
said you was done.
I did say that's all I got to say, but he kind of he
did.
went a little quick, but no, man, yeah, it's been a little bit of a struggle. I don't like being I don't like feeling like I'm not doing a good job. I don't like feeling inadequate, and when I get tired and angry, I feel like I'm inadequate. I'm not doing well enough. So I did get wrecked last night. Victory wrecked me. Mm-hmm. That was the first time I cried at CR.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Won't be the last.
No,
it
won't.
wasn't the first either.
And it was really, really good for me because people are standing and they're dancing, they're clapping and whatnot, and that's my time to really sit down and just kind of be with me and Jesus Christ. And it's almost like a guided meditation, the songs that play. And yeah, man, when they say give it up, it's take it from me, and it's just like that's what I wanted. It didn't coincide with how I felt after, but I knew that I got to take care of myself. My self-care has to be better. I gotta get back on my sleeping routine, get back on my meetings and whatnot, and just do the things that, like Brent said, the things that got me here. Stick to the basics. Keep it simple, stupid. All of those things.
He really misses Germany. That's why he's giving out those cliche words.
Yeah.
One day at a time.
Jeremy, he needs a hug.
Yeah, I think I said that today. Yeah, I think I said it today.
What, I need a hug?
Yeah, but at the same time, dove into work today, and anytime that I do that, anytime I dive into work and I help other people, I get out of me. You know, granted, I get paid to do it, but I don't do it for the money. I do it to be able to help people, like I was 2.5 years ago. So, other than that, life is good. I really don't have any complaints. It wouldn't matter if I complained anyways, because God's got it.
Yeah, and you wouldn't be in that line of work if you were looking for money.
No.
You'd definitely be in a whole different line of work.
Yep.
That's for sure.
So, but no, life is good. I'm glad I get to do this every single week. Like I said, this is like a brotherhood. This is a family. Us being able to get together like this and just, give each other crap and just hang out. This is what recovery to me is all about. So,
yeah, now we got another
Community.
fourth.
Community. And now we got a new fourth, and it's, unfortunately it's Brent, but
That's what I was waiting for.
I love you.
Don't let us sweat it, babe.
But no,
we're happy you're here.
Yeah, straight up. Really, really glad that you are here, but
It's funny that fourth chair has been,
it's been vacant for a little while.
but it's a revolving door.
It is.
Because Jeremy has a lot to do. Then Christina comes in, Brent comes in, and our guests come in. Mm-hmm. It's a good way to keep it, though. Keeps it fresh over there. Then if people get tired of seeing us, then they get pretty Brent.
Keep it warm for Jeremy
you
before
go.
Jeremy comes back.
He's going to want a spot back. I know it. I know
Here's the thing. When Jeremy comes back, he's going to be mad. Because now he ain't got the comfy couch.
He got moved to the other side of
He got moved to
the back of the bus.
Yeah, he got
Everybody
moved
puts
to-
Jeremy in a corner.
Other side, dude.
I like that couch.
That's
I
not
mean,
bad.
that used to be the crying couch. There was 2 couches at Morningstar that got cried on a lot. That was the second one that got cried on a bunch. So that was a crying couch. It worked good. So something has to break. Didn't get you last night, though, huh?
That one, it continued into that.
Okay.
That one doesn't give me as much as the other ones, but I love it.
Yeah.
Those songs are just powerful, and especially if you sit right next to the speaker, it's just like it's in you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because Aaron don't keep it quiet.
No, he don't. Thank you, Aaron.
Aaron
Appreciate
likes
that.
to.
Hey, Ron.
He likes to crank up that music a little bit. So last night I had to work tech because we gave Sam the night off, and so I was doing a little tech last night. I'm like, hey man, this is flowing pretty nicely. I kept it just going,
Man, it went good.
but it was a good worship set.
Yes.
It
No,
was.
it was.
So we know what that means. Yeah, it was a good worship set. Don't have to ever say anything anymore. That's what we came up with last night. Right? I mean, last week was it's just good worship. So yeah, we know what it means.
Dig it. Shane, how are you doing?
I've been on fire, but I would say I've been stressed the last couple of days. And probably people around me has gotten a little bit more than what they should have from that. And now, of course, I get to make my amends, and hopefully they forgive. If not, well, I think we said it. I'm going to go in with the right heart, right attitude, right heart. If they take it and they receive it, good. Everything's reconciled. If not, well, that's on them. Mm-hmm. Did you like that?
I did. But that's what we're talking about. We're going back to steps 8 and 9 today, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to be discussing that.
The other side of it, more forgiveness today
Yes.
than making the amends.
Last week we talked about the people. How do we make amends to the people that are in our lives? This week we're going to talk about making amends to people that are not in our lives. Maybe making amends to people that we've lost.
Yeah.
Also, we're going to be talking about the forgiveness to those not in our lives. So we can make amends to them, obviously, but the forgiveness to them is something completely different.
And then what does it look? How do we know that we have forgiven?
Exactly. Which is I looked at that question. I was
think
like,
it goes more what we brought up last week about the living amends. Like when you forgive somebody, you're not really living the way that you did that hatred or whatever you had that just came out of you because you never forgave that person. You're not living that way no more. Mm-hmm. So you're making like a living amends even to yourself as you with that forgiveness. I think that's when you start recognizing is when that dude cuts you off in the interstate and it doesn't upset you. Mm-hmm. Not like it did before you forgave that person. You don't get as upset as you used to back in the day or whatnot.
So is that where we want to begin? How do we know if we've forgiven somebody?
Sure, why not?
I like what you said right there because you were talking about earlier how you notice yourself not being as angry, but you just use the word upset. And I always view myself as not an angry person, but anger comes in so many different forms. It's not just like your typical lashing out anger, screaming. It's more, you can just be upset. You can be short with people. You can get annoyed at situations. And that's anger, just kind of in a different form.
Right.
So I like how you just said that, upset.
How many of us in here get upset over some of the silliest things sometimes?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
never.
Yeah. Are we really that upset as we get over that situation? I feel not.
No, it's always control.
There's something else that we don't like. We go into that not forgiving another person because we're still upset with what they did to us, and we're still mad about it. And it's as much as we want to say we pushed it down because we come from a time where we didn't cry or talk anything about it. We just man up, suck it up, buttercup, walk it off,
Rub
right?
some dirt on it, you'll be all right.
So how do you know if you've forgiven somebody? How do I know if Brent wronged me? How do I know when I've actually forgiven Brent?
Or he's forgiven you.
Because your relationship starts building up better. You could actually look at him and smile.
But what if
takes
we
a lot
don't
of
have?
work.
But what if we don't ever really see each other anymore? I'm just talking about in general. I mean, it could be with anybody, but how do you know? That's one way, I guess, if me and Brent still have a good relationship or have a relationship and I could see him, but how do I know that I've forgiven him of something?
You don't want to seek validation, but validation does help.
Okay.
Right. If that person has forgiven me, or if I'm forgiving that person, letting them know, just being honest. If I try to make amends to somebody and they say, I forgive you, that's it. To me, that's it.
But we all know it's going to take more than that one time to forgive somebody.
Well, obviously, you're changing behaviors and you're doing all those things.
But I'm talking about in general, like if I cheated on my wife and she says, I forgive you, do you think she's really forgiven me then in that one instant?
No. But at the same time, are you continuing those behaviors or not?
Well, I would hope not. I'd be definitely afraid.
Well, you'd be dead,
But yeah, I mean, even if I change my behaviors and everything is showing, how long do you think it's going to be before she really forgives me for what happened?
I mean, you can't put a time frame on that. And if you do, you're going to set yourself up for a resentment towards that person because they didn't forgive you according to the time you felt it necessary for them to forgive you. And that's a pretty personal thing for them to work through. And it's not really like something that you can express to them and say, hey, I want you to forgive me within 3 months. And now, so I expect you to do that. That's not how it's going to work.
I think it's subjective. I don't know if there's an objective time that you can.
And I'm not looking for a time. I'm just saying, how do you know when you've forgiven somebody? Like, if I've been wronged, how do I know when I've finally forgiven? My wife cheated on me. So how do I know when I've actually forgiven her?
Because that situation ain't bothering you on a daily basis. So it goes back to that stuff. Like I was saying, we got to forgive those things of our past because when you forgive it because it's not bothering you. You're not upset with that person that you're taking it out on somebody else. The whole situation just does not bother you. Not that it doesn't bother you, it's just
it don't bother you though.
It doesn't affect you.
It doesn't dictate how you're living now.
Exactly.
So
when we don't forgive, that's what we're dealing with, those past pains and hurts that drive us to do other things.
So I'd have to bring up my old teaching on it. There was a killer article that was written that says, that you've forgiven somebody once it's just a fact of life. It's a fact of something that happened to you. It no longer has the power over you. It's just a fact of something that happened. And when they do something, it don't get brought up again. So it's a fact that happened. So, I mean, yes, she cheated on me, but it's not something that controls my brain anymore. It's just a fact that happened in a moment of time, some other time.
So radical acceptance, you're just going by the facts. You're not going by the feelings.
I don't even know if it's truly once you've finally forgiven, because, I mean, it's going to take you probably forgiving them 1,000,000 times the first day, 500,000 times over the next several months. It could take you 5 years before you finally get to the place of real forgiveness to where it no longer has power over you. Because until you truly forgive, it has power over you. And it's something that happened to you, not something that just happened. And there's a difference in that.
My sponsor says it best. He says, take out the to me.
Yeah.
So it's not that person did this to me. It's that person did this.
Yeah, it's just something that happened.
Yep.
If something similar comes up, it no longer brings up that raw feeling, and I'm not using it against them anymore. I'm not throwing those poison darts because of, oh, I seen that behavior. That means that you did it. Wham, and throwing this poison dart at them and being angry.
Yeah, and I think that it goes even to like your earlier question about what about someone who's not in your life anymore. Are you taking that thing that happened to you that was done by another person and kind of what Derek was talking about, applying it to other situations and other people around you? And it's quote unquote like, oh, I have trust issues because of something that somebody did to me way long ago. It has nothing to what you did to me, but that is still affecting my everyday life. I haven't forgiven that person.
Well, just like you said, what happened to me, not something that happened years ago,
Yep.
something that happened to me years ago.
Yeah, that's his sponsor, that to me part. But yeah, I mean, if we always look at it as something that happened, if we could just see it as an event, we know we've forgiven. But until that time, until we could take that out, it'll always have power.
So I think that something comes up. So if it's putting on other people what something happened, and for the sake of this, we'll say something that happened to me. Character defects come from that, correct?
Ooh, harsh ones.
And that's what we're trying to eliminate, in the steps leading up to 8 and 9 is those character defects. So instead of saying, this happened to me and I'm going to hold these character defects, I'm going to hold these and these are my wall, these are my protection, this is my fallback, I'm going to let those go now. And that comes into forgiving ourselves.
And I think that's why, even though you got steps 6 and 7, and we think that all those character defects are gone, they're not gone until 8 and 9. I mean, you can't get rid of all your character defects until the 9th step, because I have to make an amends and I have to offer forgiveness. Because if I don't forgive, there's so many character defects that are just never, ever going to go away. Because, man, I've been hurt, I've been wronged, I've been this, I've been that. And that's a horrible way to live. I mean, do you agree? Those character defects can't, if somebody did something to me and here's a character defect that came out of it, if I don't forgive that, can I ever get rid of that character defect?
No.
Yeah, I would agree.
I don't see how you can.
No, because you're still holding on to that, and yeah.
That unforgiveness, that bitterness in the heart,
Well, it even goes like not just with anger and bitterness, but also with the insecurities.
yeah.
Insecurity being a character defect, something that happened to me that I never let go of. I still insecure about it. Like getting up in front of a crowd of people and speaking because I got laughed at when I first did it back in the sophomore year of high school.
Talking about trauma.
Yeah.
I use the trauma now to try and get that kind of connects me with people better than, let's say, if I maybe didn't experience it, or maybe if I didn't already process it or go through it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, were there some defects that came? Yeah, trust issues, of course. And that's the biggest one that came from it. I didn't trust anybody. And I still have a hard time sometimes, So this goes straight into my recovery. It's just silly. These steps,
It's just silly.
These steps are just great.
Sorry.
So how do you start forgiving somebody that, I mean, at least with my wife or somebody close to me, if I was forgiving Derek or one of you guys, I see you a lot. It's something that I work on. So how do you start forgiving somebody that's not in your life?
I actually had a chance to forgive an individual that I hadn't seen in years, but I came in contact with them. They approached me and they tried to talk with me, and I knew I had that hatred towards this person. I really had hatred towards this person. If there was anybody in this world that I ever truly hated, it was this person. And I felt that coming up in me. That fire burning of that hatred. I wanted to just slap him or something, just go off on him, But I just looked at him. I'm just like, dude, I can't, I forgive you. He had no idea what hit him.
Did you say that to him? I forgive you?
I forgive you. I looked him right in his face and I said, I forgive you. Forgive me for what?
Folks, don't always try that. That's not the way to do
But
it.
it was like, it doesn't matter, man. I forgive you. And I felt that heat go away. I felt that fire just go out. I wasn't upset with it no more because I wasn't going to let that situation control me. It was no longer something that happened to me. It was a situation that I wasn't not going to let control me.
Nice.
Back to what we were saying. But yeah, people don't just walk up to somebody and be like, you're forgiven, because it doesn't always work that way.
For what? What are you talking about?
Does it matter? You're forgiven. But no, don't do that.
Yeah, Derek, so the story that you were just telling about forgiving somebody in your life or who's no longer really in your life, who you don't view on a daily basis or weekly, monthly basis of, oh man, I really need to forgive this person to move on. But when you saw that person, it really stirred something up in you and you were compelled to just tell them, hey, I forgive you. You had actually shared that at a Celebrate Recovery 18, 20 months ago. And that was around the time I was doing my first fourth step, and I was just stuck. I could not think of anything else that needed to be going on, but I was still having these issues that I was dealing with. And you said that, and I was like, man, I gotta have somebody in my life like that, I bet. And so I started thinking, and that brought up, oh, there's this person in my life from when I was younger who I never forgave them, but they had such an impact on my life that I was using that thing that was done to me in every aspect of my life, basically, that was causing problems. And it's just taking the time to think about, and that kind of triggered me to think about, is there anybody who has done something in my past that I no longer view, that I still view was done to me and not just an event in my life? And that was the one thing, and that really kick-started, I would say, digging deeper into my recovery and my past and realizing these issues that I'm having aren't just from the time I started having problems with alcohol and drugs. They're well before that, and they're just starting to come out in alcohol and drugs. And that was just something that was one of the most helpful things in my recovery that somebody did for me, was when you shared that.
And I remember the time that you discovered that person when we were driving down Little Bento Cutoff.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And he's like, this. So, yeah, that was, and I think that's why the guys wanted you to come on this week, is that forgiveness. Did you have to forgive somebody that wasn't really in your life anymore?
Mm-hmm. And I think like my first gut reaction is, well, why do I need to forgive somebody that's no longer in my life? They're not in my life, so therefore they're not impacting my life at all. Haven't seen this person in 20 years probably, but it's still impacting my life, or was at the time. I've worked on it a lot. I think I've forgiven the person. I haven't verbally forgiven that person, but that's something I'll work on with my sponsor on. How do you go about forgiving somebody that I don't even know if this person's still alive? I don't know where they are, how to find them.
Well, usually we don't walk up to people and say, you're forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, that forgiveness is, yeah.
You're forgiven. Oh, cool.
And Aaron does. Aaron did it once too.
Did he?
Yeah. I'm like, but that takes, big
Cojones.
Cojones.
to walk up to somebody and say you're forgiven. But really, verbally, it's that heart change. It's when that incident just becomes something that happened. It's a fact of life. That's when you know that you've forgiven that person. And so you could write a letter to it and never mail it. Do you think forgiving that person is important now?
Yeah, I definitely think it is important now. I have forgiven that person, and
Right.
I definitely think that was something that I had to do. And it was just part of the process of working through something that came up on my fourth step. And that's why we do the fourth step.
Yeah. One of the questions that Mike had last week that I thought was really good is, what do we gain out of it? What do we gain from making an amends or offering forgiveness if these people aren't in our lives anymore? So do you think that you gained anything?
I think it gave me closure, and I also think it gave me freedom from insecurities that I didn't know that I knew I had, but I didn't know where they came from. And I'm a person who I really have to know where things came from in order to accept it, and that really helped me accept those insecurities and work on them because I could trace it back to something. And now that's not always going to be the case with every insecurity or a character defect. You can, if you dig long enough, you will find
I
the
think
cause.
so. But do we want to dig that long? Do we want to dig that deep, and do we want to dig that hard? That comes a question there.
Normally nobody wants to dig that deep and that hard, but once you find that freedom, like you just shared, and that you want to go, okay, wow, that really feels good, but I'm not completely free. There's still something else. So you want to, once you find, I think once you hit that freedom of forgiveness and you find that, you want to dig deeper. You want to find what's going on, because there's got to be something, like you said, I just shared this thing with you, and when I shared that story, you were just like, dude, there's got to be something. Like meerkats, but there's got to be something right now.
Huh?
That's
What?
the tallest I've ever seen Derek sit up.
Yeah. Derek does have a neck.
I do. But
Got him. I'm laughing at my own joke. I don't even care.
I'm laughing at you. Anyway,
Derek, you'll just have to work on that forgiveness later. That's all.
Yeah.
no, we got to work on that forgiveness because it does help, and that freedom that you feel. You're not going to give up everything on that one forgiveness. There's so much more in that. When you're working your steps, you kind of realize you got all these other character defects. Let's just say I got 10 character defects. 6 of them came from this one situation. There's still 4 more. When you get that feeling, you want to dig in and find out where those other 4 came from.
I agree.
Without a doubt.
I agree to keep digging. So you said that there's several people in your life, Mike, that are no longer in there, and so then what's the purpose? You said, what am I going to gain from it? Or
Yeah.
do you think there's a reason for the forgiveness and even the amends process of forgiving those and then making an amends to those that are no longer in your life? Or do we just cut out that section of our life and just like it never?
Yeah, that's not possible. If we had a button that could do that, it'd be great. But I think it would be, it would free, and I have been thinking about this, and I've been thinking about making amends to this person for, well, essentially since we separated. It would free me from that shame and that guilt of, that's the person that I was.
Yeah.
That's the person I was. Yes. Was I on substances? Of course. Was I abusing substances? Yes, I was. But I made the decision to put those things into my body, right? And I feel like the more I think about it, the more the better the idea is. That, maybe not all of them, but there's definitely some that I need to really buckle down and say, hey, you whatever it may be that I'm going to say. I'm not going to say it on here, but yeah, I think that there's peace, and then there's serenity that comes from that, to where you don't have to, because I still do let that sometimes, that guilt and that shame, dictate how I live, but I kind of switch it around to where it's like, I don't want to feel that shame and that guilt anymore. So I try to do things in a better manner, as opposed to saying, oh, I'm going to go down this negative path. I'm going to use those things as a positive turn to treat the people that are in my life now, my girlfriend now, in a better way.
Which
so I'm
is
learning
cool.
from it. You know what I mean?
The living amends part is cool, but making that amends, there's something.
Yeah, and I've actually talked to Katie about this. Like, it's been on my mind, and I feel like it would be best for me, and hopefully it would be good for her. My ex. But it's just that getting over that hump of doing it.
But what if you can't give it to her? What if you have to write a letter for it?
Which is something I do to my clients all the time.
I'm big on pen to paper. And I take all my pens to work and show them what I write with and stuff. And I encourage them, you may not have a pen like I have, but you have a pen. We give you a pen. Mm-hmm. When you first come to the store, we give you a pen and we give you a notebook. We give that to you for a reason. And one of those reasons is you need to write some letters to some people. Mm-hmm. Apology letters, forgiveness letters, goodbye letters. Have been a big one of late.
Especially to your DOC.
Yeah.
Do you realize the majority of these inks are all $2 or $3 cartridges on the inside, and no matter which pen you use, whether it's a tactile turn, it's anything that you may use, a Mont Blanc, the cartridge, it's a pen.
I use a quill.
Shut the front door.
So, but
Ink and quill.
the outside is what's expensive. The inside is, there's only so many different cartridges that people use. So they could grab a $2 cartridge, a $2 pen,
Yeah.
and still write the same thing and just fall in love with what you're writing. I think that we need to write it no matter what. And I think we can't always send that amends letter to somebody, but it has to be done. We have to make every amends. I will never agree with anybody that says, no, you don't make those amends. No, yes, we do. We don't make them to the person because it may harm them or others.
Right.
So we don't want to make it to them, but I need to write it out. Whether you burn it, we've talked about it before, whether you let it go in a balloon, whatever you may do.
Put it in the bottle, throw it out in the water, whatever.
Yeah, because you got to do something for yourself, but sometimes the best thing for that other person is to have a rent-free life. Never see me, never hear from me again. But that doesn't help me.
No.
Right. Freedom from what was said or what was done. I love that. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, so for your ex, I mean, it may be that you can't make it to her, but you can make it to her. Like, at least relieve yourself.
Right.
I just know at the last week, I'm like, man, I don't know if I like not doing any of them. Because what's the gain? And because I was the one, what do I gain out of it? What do I gain out of it? Freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom.
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 Yeah, sing it.
Freedom.
You got a mic that can handle it.
I do now. Thank you, sir. For the gentleman that got me this mic, that sounds so much better. We want to say thank you. Thank you for putting in your time, and we appreciate it.
What a bad guy
I
getting
do
them.
sound good.
So what big things have you forgiven that has really impacted you and changed you the most?
I'm about to make one tomorrow that is probably going to change my life for the better.
What is it? I mean, can you share it or
The big one.
really?
Yeah. We're going up to my farm tomorrow to build. We turned our farmhouse into a B&B,
Okay.
Verbo, Airbnb, whatever, and we're putting a shed together. And this has been something that's been in the works for pretty much my entire recovery. So 27, 28 months. And with all of these conversations over the last couple of weeks and just where I am in my recovery right now, I think the time is right. Not that it has to be a perfect timing, but I'm tired of that to me. I've accepted it as facts, right? But at the same time, I'm tired of it doesn't dictate how I live, but it's still there,
Because you haven't finished it.
because I haven't finished it, and I don't like leaving things unfinished. So tomorrow's the big one.
Wow. What are some ways that we can forgive or we can make an amends to those not in our lives anymore? I know we mentioned a couple, but what are some other ways?
I don't know, actually, because I'm all about the letters and stuff. But, I mean, there was a time that I know I forgave somebody, and I just went in my prayer closet and just didn't leave until, it was done, Never going to see that person again. Don't care to see the person again, but I can't let this person, whatever happened, control my life. And it's just like, God, take this from me. I got to give it up to you because I can't keep doing this. What is it you ask, what is it that you asked for me to do this so it's not bothering me anymore? Until it got to the point where it became a situation that happened that is past. Nothing I can do about it. Nothing's going to change except for the way I walk out that door, and it's not going to bother me anymore. So prayer was a big one that I used.
One we should start with.
Yeah, that was going to be my answer. I mean, I always would say, like Derek said, write it down, but praying about it, the only difficult part about that is you're not going to hear a response like you would if you were speaking to the person immediately, and you don't know how God will work to work through you in order to forgive that person, or who he's going to put in your life that's going to show you have forgiven this person. But I think that's the best way, and just repetition of it.
Repetition.
If that's something that you are truly seeking, and just asking him, every day, every night. Anytime you pray, anytime it's on your mind, it'll eventually work its way out through him.
Is there anything that we shouldn't forgive?
Not if you want peace.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't think of anything you can't forgive.
You sure? I'm just wondering.
No,
I mean, there's some pretty harsh things that could be done to us.
But at the same time, as long as we keep holding on to it, and that it's going to control our life one way or another. It's going to control our actions, going to control how we speak to people, how we go to work, whatever it is, it's going to control us if we're not letting go of it. And letting go starts with forgiveness.
What scripture tell us about forgiveness?
Oh, I got one right here. Hold on.
I was just wondering what scripture might say. And here, so while you're looking that up, one more way, the chair in the middle, right? I love that, where we have them write out a forgiveness letter, write out an amends letter, and read it to that chair, that empty chair.
Yeah.
Because it just works well. Now, they could keep the letter, they could burn the letter afterwards, but after they write it, to have them read that out loud to something, even though that person's not there, especially if they passed away, they could put the chair right in the middle of the floor, and you could sit there with them, and it's going to be an emotional time for them. I mean, it's going to be like that person is sitting there to them, and just have them read it. You're talking about a life-changing event that happens for them. So that's another neat way. Now back to.
So I got, yes, Colossians 3:13 says, bear with each other and forgive one another, and any of you has a grievance against someone, forgive as the Lord forgave you.
Anybody else with scripture from what the Bible says about forgiveness?
Oh yeah, I happen to actually have one on hand. Luke 6:37. Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven.
There's so many of them out there too.
Mm-hmm.
There really are.
I think
have one here.
Go ahead.
Ephesians 4:31 and 32. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and slander be put away from you, along with all malice. Be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another as God in Christ forgave you.
And which address was that?
Ephesians 4:31, 32.
The zip code.
Matthew 6:14. For if you forgive other people when they sin against you, your Father in heaven will also forgive you. That's what's crazy is the more that you go through the Bible and you read all the verses just about forgiveness, forgiven and to be forgiven. How many times must I forgive somebody that sins against me? 7 times?
70 times 7.
That seems like an awfully lot.
Right?
So, yeah, I mean, it's...
Sometimes we forgive the same person that many times or the same thing just so we get to that point where we truly forgiven them.
Yeah, here you go. Matthew 18:21 and 22. Peter came to Jesus and asked, Lord, how many times shall I forgive my brother or sister who sins against me? Up to 7? Jesus answered, I tell you, not 7 times, but 77 times. Or 7, it just depends which
version you're
you're going to read, yeah.
Wait, some versions will say 77, other versions will say 70 times 7. Those are 2 different numbers.
Yeah.
It's not about the numbers, it's about the...
Not stopping the forgiving.
You always forgive.
Yes.
It's because you're not going to... It's just too big of a number is what he's getting at. You're going to forgive always because our Father in heaven forgives us.
Mm-hmm.
I like that when you brought that out because Matthew 18 is like a big chapter in our program, is it not?
Oh, it's huge. It's all about people going to the other person when they sin against you. Mm-hmm. And then if they don't receive that, take one of your brothers with you. They still don't receive it, bring the church. And then if they don't receive it, then treat them as a pagan or a tax collector.
Right.
Yeah, Matthew 18. It's all about reconciling relationships. And what is forgiveness?
The reconciliation of relationships, yeah, without a doubt.
And I mean, that's what, in order to be in community, we must have relationship, right? Mm-hmm. And in order to have a good relationship, we have to offer forgiveness. We have to make an amends. Those relationships have to be reconciled. Without it, we have nothing.
That's right. On that, what else we got for closing?
I got another one. Luke 17:3 and 4. Take heed to yourselves. If your brother sins against you, rebuke him. And if he repents, forgive him. And if he sins against you 7 times in a day, and 7 times in a day returns to you, saying, I repent, you shall forgive him.
Nice.
I think it's just a good point about how big of a role forgiveness plays in your life. Just the Bible really just the sheer amount of times that it talks about forgiveness, it should just really hit home the fact that if you're unwilling to forgive somebody, just how big of an impact that's going to have on your life.
There's scripture saying that if you want to be forgiven, first you must forgive. And I mean, that's strong because we're always taught we're forgiven. But scripture will tell us that if you want to be forgiven, then you better forgive.
It's funny you bring that up because one of the things I've taken off of that is Jesus forgives us. We're forgiven. Like it says, we got to be able to forgive. If we're not forgiving, back to what we've been talking about, we're holding on to those that hatred, that pain, whatever it is, and we're still using it in our sin. And he forgives, but we truly forgive and get that stuff off of us and get out of that life of sin. We're constantly sinners.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
Make it a little easier on him to not have to forgive us constantly.
Right. He's going to forgive. It says he forgives, but we got to forgive others so that it gets off, so we quit living in that life of sin.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've gotten out of that before, and I thought I'd share that.
So in closing, what you got, my brother?
I think just how important forgiveness is and how it's not talked about a lot. I mean, amends are really big in making amends to people, but forgiving people, I think, sometimes gets downplayed because you were the one doing so much wrong, maybe, and in your addiction. So why are you the one forgiving people with how much you have wronged others? And it's just it is a very important thing, because if you're not going to forgive others, if you're not going to forgive yourself, you're going to fall right back into that cycle of hurting others and hurting yourself.
That's why we brought him on.
Yeah, but since we didn't read no guidelines, I'm going to piggyback off what you said. I think because a lot of times when we're feeling that way, like you're sharing, we did so much wrong in that, that's not us not being able to forgive ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of our biggest forgiveness that we got to learn in our recovery is being able to forgive ourselves. We realize that we done wrong to this person. We did to make amends, but something still doesn't feel right. And to me, I think it's that time we're not forgiving ourselves. And we got to forgive ourselves, not only the person, make amends. If we're good, now I got to be good with myself on that situation.
Mm-hmm.
He's cool with me. Now I got to be cool with me on it. Going even into that, what we call it, life living amends or whatever.
Yep.
We start becoming a different person. So that's what I have for my closing today. Thank you.
I love it.
Good stuff.
What you got, Mikey?
Forgiveness is not just about the other person, it is also about yourself. I cannot be the person that I want to be unless I learn to forgive. And that's all I got about forgiveness.
That's all I'll say about that.
Matthew 6:15, but if you do not forgive others of their sins, your Father will not forgive you of your sins.
Bam.
That's brutal. If you want to know something that's going to disconnect you from God, unforgiveness. That unforgiving heart, that hardened heart will disconnect you from God quicker than anything else will. Forgive. There's nothing more freeing. There's nothing more loving. And there's nothing more caring that you could do than forgive somebody and yourself. So with that,
Amen. Thank you to Tactile Turn, our sponsor. Also, like, share, subscribe. We're on all podcast platforms. For everybody here at Awaken Sober, we'll see you next week.
God bless. We'll see you soon.
Peace.
See ya.